Have you ever seen a teaser for a game, and despite there being no gameplay, screenshots, or even a CGI cutscene, the title alone gets you hyped up beyond belief? For me, this game was none other than Shin Megami Tensei Cross Fire Emblem. My personal history with this game has been very passive-aggressive. All things considered, and regretfully so, it has ended with some disappointment. When the first teaser trailer aired in 2013, I was excited for this game come hell or high water. And I was ready to defend it when it came out, no matter what decisions the developers were to make. However, upon various information leaks and the reveal of the Japanese version, I've since gone back on that statement and decided that maybe this game isn't worth my time. So, you may be wondering at this point what could have caused me to flip 180 degrees when concerning my opinion on this game. Well, that's why I'm making this video. Now, quick disclaimer before we get started. I have not played Tokyo Mirage Sessions Sharp FE yet, and I have no intention of doing so. This will be further explained later on in the video, but for further note, this video is purely from the point of view of an outsider looking in. With that being said, I have also never played an SMT game in my life. So, anything regarding how SMT was represented in this crossover will not be considered. This is purely from a Fire Emblem fan's standpoint and will purely be discussing how this game affects the Fire Emblem franchise. And finally, this is not a formal review, and my opinion is not fact. This is simply me sparking a discussion based on the game as I see it. As such, if you like Tokyo Mirage Sessions, that's perfectly fine. More power to you. So, without any further stalling, hold on to your Hatsune Mikus as we rep into Tokyo Mirage Sessions Sharp FE. Oh, I like this. Starting off strong with a good bit of controversy. Now, what I mean by crossover dysfunction is, from my outlook, the Fire Emblem series was malrepresented in terms of this crossover. You see, there exist two types of crossovers. You have crossovers like a lot of the Marvel Cinematic Universe movies, where they take place in the same universe, and it's very simple to mix universes together because they share a greater story arc. A good example of this in gaming would be Portal and Half-Life. While they haven't directly crossed over yet, it has been confirmed by Valve that they do indeed take place in the same universe. Then you have crossovers such as the Smash Bros. Games, which combine characters from vastly different franchises for no apparent reason at all, for just a ridiculous time of just wonderful explosions of fan servicey goodness. No, not that kind of fan service, but we'll get there. Now, Shin Megami Tensei Cross Fire Emblem is one of the soft crossovers, Marvel Cinematic Universe style, where it acknowledges that both series exist, but it kind of does its own thing, thus putting it in basically a league of its own. And while you would think that from me, who's been complaining about it this whole time, this would be the deal breaker. Well, no. I'd be lying if I said I didn't expect the game to be this way from the outset. I grew up in an area where there were a lot of SMT fans, and from knowing that, I was able to piece together that this game was more than likely going to be more SMT than it would be Fire Emblem, and that's what it seems to me. However, I have no idea how you can make a crossover between two of the most ridiculous franchises and not sorry, got a little carried away there. Anyway, what I was saying is that I don't understand how little Fire Emblem there actually is in this game. And I guarantee you some SMT fan in the comments is going to say there's also not really that much SMT in it either, but god damn it, I don't know any better. You see, the big deal breaker for me when concerning this game was when the information was revealed that this game would only feature characters from the first Fire Emblem game and Awakening. What the actual hell? Atlus, come on! You were given one of the most diverse casts in all of gaming concerning characters, personalities, weapon types, and you limited yourself to only 2 games. 2 games which are arguably the blandest in the entire series. I just don't understand how you can give recognition to old characters that the new fans are not exposed to, such as Lynn, Ephraim, Ike, Hector, Elliewood, Roy, other than Smash Bros. I don't understand how you can't include them when you're only limiting to games that are already oversaturated among the community. Please correct me if I'm wrong here, but checking the Fire Emblem wiki, I've found that only 2 of the main MIrage cast are actually fan favorites, those being Chrom and Tharja, both from Awakening, and both given way more spotlight than they should be getting. It's not like doing this kind of thing is unheard of in gaming, however. A good recent example of doing a similar thing, ignoring a middle game and only pandering to the first and final games in the series, is Dark Souls 3. And to Dark Souls 3's merit, it worked. Now, keep in mind that Dark Souls 3 and Tokyo Mirage Sessions are 2 very different situations when it comes to this scenario. I'm comparing them in the sense that they ignored a good major part of their franchise during the middle and only paying attention to the first and last game, hence why you're seeing Anor Londo footage right now and watching me get good. But anyways, my biggest problem with Dark Souls 2 was that it overcomplicated a lot of the simpler systems from the first game. And Dark Souls 3 took a step back, saw what made the first game great, and applied it. That's a good way to ignore a middle game that did too much. In Fire Emblem's case, however, you can't really do that. Elliewood will always be more well-written than Chrom. Hector will always be way better an axe user than Vake. And Lynn is a way better waifu than Tharja. I'm sure we can all agree. My one big hope for this game was to actually see a lot of old Fire Emblem characters get new life breathe into them, and seeing them in the spotlight once again, and for a change of pace. That would be excellent, and it seems that we haven't got that. And another thing we didn't get was just that it didn't feel like a true crossover. If I had to make an honest guess, I would say that Tokyo Mirage Sessions RFE was actually a game that Atlus had sitting in development hell for a while, but then when they were commissioned to do the crossover, they pulled it out of the Atlus vault and repurposed it for the purposes of the crossover, which isn't always the best thing to do. From what little I know of the SMT franchise, I understand that it's usually a dark, grounded story relating to demons in parallel worlds and high school students who must defeat them. So basically the plot of every anime ever. However, it was usually dealt with mature themes and a very gritty, realistic approach. Fire Emblem, on the other hand, is a tactical RPG series with a strong sense of moral gray and a huge cast of characters who make up a large army, which is usually designed to fight a larger-than-life foe, most likely of some supernatural and ancient origin. So how exactly, when you combine the two, do you get J-pop? Something in your math is wrong, people. That's like if you combined Game of Thrones for Fire Emblem and the X-Files for Shin Megami Tensei and ended up with Adventure Time. That's really honestly what it feels like. I'm going to stop myself before I go off in a tangent here because I want to keep this video as fair and balanced as possible. So, from the outset, you can see how angry this game makes me, and really, it shouldn't. So, I'm just going to go ahead and move to the next segment before I blow your guys' headphones off. Welcome to a little segment I like to call nitpicking, and that's really because I don't have anything else to call this sort of segment, as this is just sort of a mix of ideas and thoughts I had that I just didn't think worthy to full segment on their own. So, starting off, we have the over-sexualization of certain characters. Now, I understand that this is Japan, and I understand there's like this weird cultural thing about fertility relating to large breasts, and honestly, I don't get it, but hey, to each his own. I was always a leg guy. So, I'm usually not a fan of this type of thing in media unless it's warranted, mostly because if a character is going to be over-sexualized, I think that there needs to be a reason that you're going to do that. Like, if they act very sultry and sort of flirty, then yeah, I see your point. But if it's just a character for the sake of being a character who gets over-sexualized for some reason, that I really don't like. Another quick nitpick I have is I honestly think that the crossover in a lot of times, like from the gameplay I've watched, it's a little forced, and that should never be the case at all. So find a way to more seamlessly integrate your stuff. Other than that, that pretty much wraps that up, and I can move straight on to the closing thoughts. So, in the end, there's my thoughts. I can't in good conscience bring myself to like this game, and I probably never will. So, sound off in the comments and actually tell me if I should give this game a chance or not. If yes, who knows, I might do an impressions video later on. Well, I should bring this up before I go. Tokyo Mirage Sessions Sharp FE is actually the most important Fire Emblem game to be released this year. Not Fates, actually. And this is because Tokyo Mirage Sessions is an experimental spin-off. And basically that means if this game tanks, well, say goodbye to any Fire Emblem Dynasty Warriors crossovers you've been crossing your fingers for. But if this game does well, it does sort of unnerve me that future Fire Emblem crossover games might take the route and limit the roster, which is not something I want to happen. So go ahead and debate that in the comments as well. Now, I'm sure Tokyo Mirage Sessions Sharp FE is probably a well-designed game, both gameplay and story-wise, and this is just my butthurt fanboy reaction to it. So, with that being said, I have been ZerkMonsterHunter 4. Drop me a comment down below. Tell me why you think I'm right, think I'm wrong, or think I'm an asshole. And, as always, no matter what games you like to play, happy hunting.